Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Granada Hills in the San Fernando Valley. I'm an actual Valley girl.
Yeah.
In November 4th, 1974.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you were raised with mom and dad?
No. I'm the last of 6 and an only child. There's pictures of this Brady Bunch family and then a baby in the corner. My mom she turned 41 right after she had me. I was a surprise late in life. And she had Cindy and Wendy with her first husband. My father, for lack of a better term, was her second husband and her last husband. 2 marriages, 13 years each. Here's a number. And my mom was his third wife. And he had David and Robert with Russ, his first wife. And then Rhonda with the second, and me with third, and then cheated on my mom with the fourth, and then cheated on her with her best friend, the fifth and final. And he killed her, the fourth. They got in a fight. They were both alcoholics, and they were fighting over him Rhonda ran away from home, even though she wasn't my mom's. She raised her from 2 weeks old. And but right before her 16th birthday, a week before her sweet 16th birthday that my mom was planning all this big thing, she had to go be with Daddy. But the new wife didn't want her. So they shipped her back east to his sister. And they got in a fight about it, and were drinking, and he didn't hit women, but it got rough, and I guess he hit her. And she went to go take some aspirin, and not being right of mind, she just kept taking them. And he found her 2.5 hours later, dead on the bathroom floor. And he was the head vice president of aerospace and knew a lot of cops and was friends with a lot of cops. And the real cause of death turned out to be a blow to the head. And it got put down as an OD. And I was like, I didn't care. The woman was a nightmare. I only saw the man the second Saturday of every month. And I wanted Daddy around, even though he was a piece of crap. And because Mom was rough. And I was going to tell him, he would always bring her along though, and we'd go to see what movie she'd want to see and go to a restaurant. And I was finally going to tell him that, next weekend, please don't bring her. And we wake up that Saturday, it was going to be the next Saturday, we wake up that Saturday to a message from some woman with a thick New York accent from back east looking for my brother David. And it was Virginia, his sister from Kentucky. And she was trying to tell David about Joe's really upset, Charlotte died. So I'm like, wow, my wishes are kind of harsh, scary as a Scorpio. But so
that was
he was there every day after that with my mom, and she was the love of his life. And he was there every day and trying to kill himself and her stopping him and really upset. But I never got to see him. I had to be banned to the other room. And so I never got to see him then. It was weird. And right up until we moved to Tahoe.
Well, let's see. Growing up in your household, you grew up with your siblings?
No, it was just me and Rhonda, really, at that point.
Gotcha.
She was 7 years older than me. She's the second to the youngest.
Okay.
The rest of them had all grown up and gone out, and were having lives. And sorry, in the pictures, there's this weird thing because I know this family existed. I know they're supposed to be my family, and I should have been part of it. But I'm just a baby in the corner.
Right.
So then after Rhonda ran away, it was just me and Rhonda for like 4 years or something. And then she ran away and it was just me. And so I was raised as an only child in a way. And we moved to Tahoe and I never saw Joe again.
Gotcha.
And which was good riddance in a way, but it was very hurtful. There were a few times where he supposedly wanted to try to see me.
And Joe's your dad?
And then he backed out of it.
Yeah.
And at the last second got me all excited thinking, oh, maybe he wants to know me.
Yeah, as a kid, that's a big deal.
I was a surprise. I was this extra special thing that happened for the whole family. And then why doesn't he want his baby girl? Why? And a lot of that is Scorpio. I attribute a lot of crap to Scorpio. And good and bad. And one thing Scorpio does is obsess about shit when they shouldn't. And it kind of sucks. That's what I really don't like about it. But
Well, then as a child, you grew up in Tahoe, or I shouldn't say grow up, but what age did you go to Tahoe?
we moved to Tahoe, and I turned 13 right after. We
Okay.
moved in like September 15th of 1987.
Okay, so from California to
Yeah,
Tahoe.
yeah, from LA and away
Right.
from everyone I've ever known. Because my aunt lived up there, and she wanted my mom out of LA. And my sister told me several years later, she goes, "I should have." Cindy said that she said to Wendy after we moved, "Oh, we should have done more to protect Jen." I'm like, "You're telling me this 30 because we were in Tahoe for 32 years," and it's like, "You telling me this now?"
What does she mean by that?
That turned out Mom wasn't just crazy at the very end with dementia. She was batshit evidently the whole time, and pulled stuff and was depressed and didn't all the stuff that I saw at the end of her being crying all the time and not being able to pay bills. That she was evidently always like that, and had problems, and they just didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. And they didn't think maybe we should have helped Jennifer, left her alone with this woman several miles away, and didn't even try. They never saw their mother again after we left. And I thought it was weird because they were always seemed so close. We were always at Cindy's, and all Cindy had kids. Me and Wendy didn't have kids, and but we were always there, and it always seemed normal to me.
Yeah, as a kid, you don't
But
know
you didn't really
you don't know
notice it.
anything else,
Yeah,
right.
and I'm just like, well, thanks. Not only did I felt abandoned by a lot of things a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it's poor me, but it's also whatever.
Well, I mean, it's our childhoods affect us more than we
Oh yeah.
know. It's
Well,
profound.
One thing I said that was kind of heavy about telling you is, I was supposed to be born on Halloween, and I don't know how much you believe in horoscopes and in the way stars align. I'm not all psycho into it, but I'm enough into it, and I've seen enough to know a lot of it is real. And I don't know how much into the paranormal you're in, but the house that I was born was, made in and born in, basically. There was something weird around in each house around the place. I mean, like the guy across the street was crazy. The guy over here was a cop, and it was a harsh guy. He bought the house, and there was this a guy killed himself to get away from to get back at his wife. Behind us, there was something. There was a major drug house on catty corner to us, where a lot of shootings and stuff happened. And then there was this house next door, or two houses down, where the girl was kidnapped, and I was always heard was found strangled and raped and left in a ravine. No. Ended up finding out through the years. One day when I was just about 7, my sister, the church we went to, my sister Rhonda was older, so she got to be in the missionettes, and I was in the daisies, and the missionettes got to go away for camp. And she was my protector. So Mom slept with me, and our heads were together in the corner, and I'd never seen horror movies or been into any of that. And my imagination wasn't into that at that point. I'm a horror movie queen now, but it was, I woke up in the middle of the night having to pee, and I needed the light on. And I look up, and there's this thing standing there, and glaring down at me, and we all kind of glow a little in the dark. I don't know if you know this. It was kind of glowing a little, just I could tell there was a being there. I'm like, Mom, get the light, get the light. And something in my head said, look back at the bed. And I don't know why at that age. And there's Mom laying there. And I flipped out. I threw the blanket over my head and was screaming. And from that moment on, there was just something dark followed me throughout the house. I could feel like a blackness behind me. I found out that my mom woke up the next morning with her bed a foot off the ground. I couldn't figure out why the church kept coming over. And I was being sent outside, and there was yelling in the house. But I kept seeing things. It was, I don't see dead people. It's not something like that. I believe in ghosts. I believe there's other things. And I found out throughout the years, because I knew she was kind of like a guardian angel, but something happened in that house. You couldn't tell me no. And then I overheard and found out that that girl, my sister Cindy had things in the very back room happen to her, like just sounds that she heard. The girl was kidnapped and brought into that empty house. and in the back room was raped and killed, and her body cut up, and the little square that was above my bed that I never knew what it was in the ceiling was an attic space, and that's where her cut up body was found, directly above my bed. And the stars aligned with, I was supposed to be born on Halloween, but I was born the 4th. I was conceived and everything in that house. And I don't believe really totally in psychics or anything, but there have been a couple that my mom went to go see, and they would ignore my mom and start talking to me and telling me things that mom didn't know about back then that I saw, and who the woman was and who the girl was. And it shaped a lot. I'd gotten way into horror movies and way into having to do to where in Tahoe, I was almost 5 years clean. And I don't see anything when I'm high. People go, oh, it's because you're high. No, not when I'm high. And we were thinking that maybe it was trying to stop me from getting 5 years. And all of a sudden, without getting into all of it, I was told by 2 different paranormal groups, research groups that had come up from Placerville and Sacramento, and the Catholic Church, that I had 4 of the 5 signs of possession. And it was poltergeist activity, and all I needed was to know its name, and I would have been Linda Blair all over the place. That's what they told me. And these are people that hadn't talked to each other. It's just their assessment. The Catholic priest, which I want to know how there's an American Indian priest in an Irish Catholic church. He was afraid for my mom, and he told her to hide all the knives in the house, that he thought that I was going to go berserk or something. No. But we had Bibles, holy water brought in almost daily, and there were Bibles every 3 feet throughout my room, and all of them open to song, to where at any point all I had to do was touch one of them. With both hands I could touch them, and it would try going into the ER 2-3 times a week, being cut open, and explain to them without saying that you're cutting yourself, and without telling them that you're haunted, and have them not think you're a cutter, because you have to get stitches. Because I was held down and whipped at one point. My mom watched it happen. She didn't see what was doing it, but she could see the whip marks happen all over my body. Anyone who knows me knows I won't hurt my tattoos. And that was when a couple of friends finally believed me. It's like, there's no way in hell she'd do this to her tattoos. And she couldn't reach her back like that.
What age was this happening?
This was mid-30s. It was actually closer to 40. And it lasted almost 5 years. And it suddenly just dissipated and went away. It started with a little boy reaching at me in the dark when I woke up, and the dark behind it fucking moved and enveloped him and grabbed him back. He was asking for help. And that's how it started. And there's some things that I won't say on camera that happen, just because people talk about it. I'm nuts, I sound nuts saying it, and it's that happened that just, it got gnarly. I was getting black eyes all the time. And then Vigo, and most people think dogs, oh, they're going to bark and this and that. One thing that people don't know a lot about it, most of the time, the reality of it is they get put in a trance and they don't move. These dogs barked at the wind, and it would be happening to me, and you could kick them and they wouldn't move. And then I got Vigo. And he was my savior. He was my early warning system when I was about to get punched in the face or cut open or whatever. It cut my breasts and my legs open at one point. And he would start barking and growling right before it happened. And one time he was up in the air in front of me, or barking at something in the air, and I had finally gotten a camera or a phone, and I snapped a shot, and there he is in the air with this white mist right in front of his face. And so, once we got him, it was within a few months that it finally really dissipated.
And as this is happening, what are you feeling? Are you scared?
I was
Are you curious?
Scared, and I was, like I said, I was a horror movie freak. I had to watch trailers for every movie. I had everything. I had stuff all over my walls, and I took it all down because that was a gateway.
Stuff? What do you mean stuff?
Stuff I subscribed to Fangoria magazine, and I had Freddy Krueger's my favorite, and I had that stuff all over the walls, and I went to take stuff down, and then it got worse. because it was mad. I found out from somebody that was mad that I was taking it down. And, but I can't put it back up, and so I was stuck in the middle with that. And it just, I got to where I was scared to watch scary movies at all. Now to me, like Friday the 13th and Night Reynolds, that stuff is popcorn fun. But anything to do with witchcraft or ghost stories like Paranormal Activity, any of that stuff, I can't even handle the thought of it. And Ellis, and I was so mad because I loved that stuff. That stuff was a major part of me. And I was really upset that it took that away from me. And then I got with Ellis, and he's as sick in the head as I am with horror movies. I don't know if you've seen the new Winnie the Pooh at all. It's awesome. It is so sick and twisted. It's like anybody who loved Winnie the Pooh as a kid just are having their whole dreams and hopes of life dashed beyond. It's really sick, really harsh. They did it with $100,000 budget and spent $95,000 on fake blood. I swear they must have. It's that harsh to where me and Ellis were like, and it's hard to get us, but I can finally watch a movie now, and trailers, and I'm not afraid that something's going to happen.
Well, I'm curious. Growing up, you said that you guys were Catholic.
No, it was just the Catholic Church in Tahoe. We were trying to think of holy water and think of anyone that could do exorcism, right. or if that was needed. Or
was your mom spiritual?
Yeah, she was raised. She went to Catholic school when she was young, but I was raised Christian, and we had stopped going to church a long time ago because of some. I had started with a friend a church group at school, and some other people ran it, and we just sat in the background of it, and. This dumb guy, Beetlejuice had just come out in the theater. And I'm not serious about this. I made a joke. And a lot of people were talking about it. If that was such a weird afterlife. It was such a weird, at the time it was a huge deal. And showing how old I am here. And I said at the end of the church meeting, when it was just me and the main guy and whatever, and my other friend started it, I go, that would be really fucked up if, we go to heaven and we're like, there's the guy, and wouldn't be weird if that's the way it was. I'm not serious. I'm not putting down God or edges or anything like that. And he flipped out on me and threw me out of the class that I started, out of the group that I started. And then that night was church night. It was Tuesday night. And I told my mom about it, and we got to church, and all the parents had heard about it, and everyone knew about it, what I had said. We walked in the door and started going. My mom walked in the door and said, "Fuck all of you," and we walked out and never went back.
Gotcha.
And we heard all the time that just, I was evil. I've got a Harry Potter problem, so I'm into witchcraft. No, that's not witchcraft to me. Technically, I guess it is, but not like Blair Witch, which is the scariest movie to me. I can't handle that movie. But it's not that. It's just, I'm telling you all this because this was a great deal of me, and I was told a lot of bad things happened to me because of all this. No, that was when I felt the most joy, was getting to laugh because I knew how they made certain things and how they did scenes, and I liked the breakdown of it. I get a DVD, I have to have a DVD with all the extras, and I watch all of those first, and all the bloopers and all first. It doesn't destroy the movie for me. I get to sit and watch the movie and go, I know how they did that, and it makes it even better for me. And I've been told by a lot of people with a lot of that. It just, oh, look at Jen, she's just messed up, and this is why all the bad stuff happens to her. Well, why does bad stuff happen to anyone else then? It's
bad stuff happens, good stuff happens to everybody. Well, tell me about, in your 20s, what's going on in your 20s?
In 20s, graduating from high school is the best thing I ever did, because it's one thing I did for me by myself.
In Utah? You were in high school in Utah?
No, South Lake Tahoe.
Sorry, what did I say?
Utah.
Tahoe.
It's okay. One of the Tahoes.
Yeah.
They used to say it's when you take off out of town, it's called Tahoe because the hoe left instead of Tahoe. It's a stupid saying up there. But yeah, I graduated there.
And where did you go after high school?
And after high school, I stayed around with Mom, and didn't go off to college or anything. Wasn't going to. I'm like, that was school that I had to do. I'm not doing anymore. And had a couple jobs, and got married to get away from Mom. And he took off, and I got the best thing out of that, and that was my dad. All right, his father was Hell's Angels, or is Hell's Angels, and his stepmother. Amazing. These people are down in McCulmy Hill in Jackson area, off the old 49er trail, and off the books jobs their whole life. Have a safe full of gold that washes up in their front yard, gold and amethyst all the time. And Dad's a biker, and basically Rick took off with my best friend, and they had a child. And he went, "That's against code, hell that." And he goes, "He's the in-law, you're my daughter." And I haven't even spoken to the man in several years, and I spoke to him like 20 years later, and it was like it was the next day. And "Are you okay? You can still use that one phone call if you ever need that phone call, Jen." And I haven't spoken to him now in about another 15 years, and I know I can pick that phone up at any time I want. And
so they took you in.
Yeah, I mean, it was just amazing to go down there. And even after Rick and I split, and I ended up with Sal, the next one, I would go down, and Sal was gorgeous. He had black hair to his ass, and he was pure Sicilian from New York, ice green eyes. He was a drummer, and all the women in Dad's family were like, "Oh, Jen, we like this one." And you're like, "He's not even related to you." And and I got to go and be there, and I miss them. And I miss them, but it's so Rick took off with Tiffany. It sounds like a little dog that should be kicked, but man. And she was my best friend, and that was horrible because I had to have the whole thing played out in front of me. They both tried to borrow my car, which was mine and his car, and he kept thinking it was still his car. I'm like, no. A 77 Toyota Corolla hatchback, black with a white hood, and my mom worked for the court, so I knew all the cops and all the judges and all the lawyers, and the cops would joke with me, and they'd call it the canine cop car on crack, because I had a roll cage in the back, because my girl dogs ate my dashboard, and the front of it had gotten in an accident, so it was all cracked out. But that car kept going, and they just like, "How is this thing going?" And so I mean, I got the car, and they got each other, and guess what? They're not together at all anymore.
Yeah. Well, how long were you married?
We were married for about 10 years,
Oh, that's a long
but we
run.
were together
Longer.
less than a year,
Oh, less than
and
a year.
it was just we couldn't get the divorce, and took off with our lives and didn't try to, or whatever. And then finally, his mom offered to pay for it. We're like, "Okay, do it."
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, so did you stay there for 10 years?
No,
Or-
I was with him anywhere I'd gone out in life. I had met Sal, and I went down to San Luis Obispo to be with him for a little bit, and always came back to Mom. And every time I'd come back, the rules got worse. The older I got, too.
You said the rules?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Under her roof.
Oh, gotcha.
You have to follow her rules, to where I had a curfew in my 30s and 40s, and couldn't go, and had to tell her who was coming over.
Yeah.
And it's her house. I get that.
I have nightmares about that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Moving
it just
back home.
it was to where, I mean, Ellis wonders a lot, or wondered a lot, why are you the way you are with certain things? And I explained to him the way it was with her. And I mean, this is the first time I've done anything in life. I've never gone out, and I haven't worked since I was 19. I get too scared to go in front of or do any kind of interview. I was never good enough. And I can't handle first confrontations of anything. I mean, or first meeting someone. I'm kind of shy, and then I'm blabbermouth. But it's just getting over that first hump, and it's almost impossible. It's like the first move in dating someone. I can't do it at all. After that, it's on. But I can't do any of that. And so I didn't work, and I got more and more depressed with my mom. And then this one guy I'd been with, he cheated on me. I'd been cheated on by pretty much every one of them, and he cheated on me. I was 28, and right after we broke up, about a month later, I was arrested on my third DUI, which pretty much nothing happened to me because Mom worked for the court, and everyone just loved Mom, but they didn't live with her. They didn't know what she was really like. She's a sweet little old lady. And she, the third DUI, basically, I was going to lose my dogs and everything, and I put everything down that night when I got home. And that was July 23rd, 2004. I have it tattooed on my arm. And I came home and I broke my pipe. I smoked the less what was in it. I broke my pipe and I got rid of any foil and anything else, and I only do meth. And I got rid of all of it right before midnight that night. And I put it down myself without going to NA or doing anything else for
Cold
13
turkey.
years.
Oh, wow.
Because I was going to lose my dogs, which were everything. And we ended up going, before court, we ended up going and putting me in outpatient, and paying for that, and taking care of it. So, because I had the judge that was going to be seeing me, I'd had Christmas dinner at his house, at the municipal court judge's house, and the superior court judge's house, right? Mom knew everyone, and she was with them for several years, and she was the favorite. And so I went and I did all that, and so nothing really happened to me. It was time served, and they let it go. And a lot of people in Tahoe that were trying to go through the program and stuff were mad at me. Well, just because I beat the system, I did it legally, I did it right, and I did it cold turkey. I didn't have to do any of that. But with that, I also wasn't with anyone, and that was longer. One day in Tahoe, and that just snowballs on you. I mean, so I'm a Scorpio who never had sex in her 30s, and that was hard for me. And I'm not a whore, I'm not a slut, but I was active is kind of the wrong word. I was healthy, in a way.
No, I mean, you're human.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just hard to say certain things around this particular road without people thinking certain things. I know what I am and I know what I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. But to have nothing, and especially, like I said, I hold Scorpio very high up with things. As a Scorpio, to have nothing, it turned out being almost 15 years to not have sex. I mean, there are prison stints that are shorter than that people.
What was the, to be abstinent for 15 years, what was the reason? Why?
It was, I'd given up. I figured they all do this, and nobody wants me in.
On relationships.
And the depression of no drugs with it too. I had the first 2 months. In 2 months, I'd always been about 120, and I was always a 34B. To get personal with that. And in 2 months, I gained 60 pounds sitting on my ass, not changing my food habits and not changing my sleeping habits either. Just sitting without the drug and sitting there depressed. I gained 60 pounds and went to a 38D for the first time in my life. And everyone thought I'd gotten a job done and all that. No, I was just sitting there. And it got to, I have got real bad problems with my hips and legs because I was born late, and my father was an alcoholic, so the fucked up sperm and shit made me have a lot of physical problems. And with the bad back and the scoliosis and the hip problems, with the weight gain, it made a lot of pain.
Right.
And then the haunting started.
And
my doctor was prescribing, knew that I wasn't lying. She knew me, and she knew what was happening, and she had seen some of it. And she ended up getting fired partly because of me, from being a doctor, and because she was prescribing me things to keep from a ghost hurting me. And she had to lie about it and say things were different things, but she knew what was happening to me and knew I needed some. But then I started getting on pills that made it to where I could not function. I was scared to go in public. I wasn't quite agoraphobic, but I couldn't go into stores. I couldn't be around people, and I felt like I had fur on my eyeballs all the time. That's what it felt like. And I couldn't sleep right because of too many pills, and everything hurt all the time anyway still. But it was worse, and plus the depression of not being with someone and feeling like it was never going to happen again, and who the hell's going to love me. The nightmares from it. The nightmares from not having sex were really bad, and it physically hurts. I mean, because your body's not doing what it was doing.
Yeah, it sounds like loneliness, disconnection.
Yeah.
And you want to connect with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom is nuts, and she's trying to hold me real close because everyone's left her and stuff. And now she was evidently like that, and more nuts than I thought. And I didn't even think she was nuts. I just thought she was a bitch.
So all this time you're living with your mom.
Yeah.
And
the rules
for
are getting
15
tighter.
years.
The rules are
And
getting tighter and scarier.
Is there a, is she codependent? Is there a sense
Oh
of,
yeah, definitely. That's
and
what
were
it was.
you
Yeah.
codependent on each other?
Yeah, it's I mean, she made it. She was always saying that, oh, I want you to go get a job, and I want you, and tell people, oh, Jennifer's so bright and she can do this and that, but made it to where I didn't believe I could do anything at all, and that nobody would ever want me. And one day, I had finally, with the weight gain, I went up 202 pounds, and I decided to get into the rec center pool again. And I got way into that, and I was doing 20 laps. I was doing 2 to 3 days a week and doing 20 laps at a time, and on big, huge Olympic-sized pool. And I got the goggles, and I had the fins, and I had all of it set up. I go into something, I go, little Scorpio full hog. And I went down to 130 where I should have been, and my body was blam, and it was awesome. And then one day I was at the next door neighbor's house, and he pulled out a pipe and just handed it to me, even though he knew I was going to say, I thought I would say no. I automatically started to, because we used to get out together. And I didn't say no, and it was like it was nothing. It was like I didn't even blink, and I've been fucked up ever since.
After 15 years?
After 15 years, it was 13 years.
13.
It was 15 for the other. It was another year and a half, until, and then Mom got dementia. And that happened slowly.
Yeah.
And I just thought she was just being weird at first. And I was starting to distance myself from her finally getting the guts to do it. And it was at the wrong time, and I didn't realize it. And she would start to escape and run to the neighbors and say that I was holding her hostage, and got hospitalized at the ER twice. And even though they knew I had done nothing, the second time she was in there, it was over Christmas, the first Christmas either one of us had spent alone ever and without each other. And even though they knew it wasn't me, I, for some reason, was the only person that could only see her under armed guard. We don't know why. It was so stupid. She's in there screaming, begging for me. My mother went into the hospital, and she never came out.
Oh, wow.
It switched on her even more in there because of stress of me not being there or whatever, and no one ever said exactly what it was, and then I finally went to the doctor with her, who he used to be my doctor before I was 18, so we'd known each other that long, and he's talking to her, and she knew him, and she was, a lot of things were like baby-like, but she knew him and was talking to him and all happy with him. Like, okay, maybe it's, and then he's talking to her, and yeah, Barbara. And I said to him, I go, so what do you think? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, as he's looking at her, talking to her, he goes, out of the corner of his eye, he looks at me. He goes, yeah, Jen. He goes, Barbara's not here at all anymore. And that just floored me. I'm like, oh shit, he said it.
Yeah.
And I had to do all of it by myself, because because I couldn't work and I was too scared to do anything, and we're doing everything off her money, and if they knew that this was happening, he kept it quiet. He didn't do anything about it. If she got put in a home, or if they came to get her or anything, they would have taken the house and the money and everything, and I would have been in the street. And I wasn't. I mean, that was impossible.
Your siblings?
They didn't give a shit. They were down in LA.
Who's they?
I mean, the state.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, people that would have to come and take her to actually, because if I were to say I need help at all. So I let my best friend's daughter and her dude come live in the back room. She and I had been friends too. And they started inviting friends over, and other friends, and kept hiding things from me. My rule was, if you bring someone over, I need to meet them immediately. I want to know who's in my house. I'm not trying to butt into your guys' business, but I'm going to know who's in the house. And that's fair. I've got my mom there to think of, and I'm a bit nosy, but still, it's more than fair. And I started getting things hidden from me, and we all did meth together and all that stuff, and I don't do heroin. So Mom, nobody does. I don't know why I even said it to them. I'd never known her to do it. Well, no heroin in the house. I figured they just couldn't stand me. So instead of telling me the truth, these people all let me believe that I was alone in this with my mom. They weren't really helping me, and that no one could stand me. Until I kind of threw them out and threw all their stuff across the street, and people were pick and pulling and going through heroin needles, and I didn't know it. And that's how I found out. And it wasn't that. They were just all heroin junkies, every one of them. And they were trying to hide it from me because I had told them no. So this great opportunity, they were crying and living in their car, and they had a room now, and they had this, and she was helping me. She had helped two other, she had gone through one mother with depression, dementia herself, and helped with someone else before. And she was a huge, because I had to keep getting high because I couldn't go to sleep because Mom would try to escape. And she'd go to the windows and start screaming out the windows for help. So I had to stay up, and I couldn't afford it. And it was giving me migraines, and I'm getting no sleep, and I'm losing it. This can't keep happening. And she came in that first night. She goes, Jennifer, go to bed. I've got this. Even though she had to work later, and she did it for me for 3 nights. I'm like, this is great. And then they were doing this other to me, though. And they were using this, and they had these 2 friends that needed to stay in a tent in the backyard, and I'm just trying to kiss people's butt. And that was Corey and Rennick. And I told these guys, we all 3 got along, we were like this weird 3 number, and I gave them both keys to the house where I didn't give them to her. I'd never even met these people. I'd known her for years. And I told them that if I could, I would split the sale of the house in 3. Thank God I didn't. Thank God I didn't. Rennick is my brother. He's got these big cherub cheeks that no matter how mad you are at him, he'll even sort of lift his cheeks, and it's like the full-on Joker smile anyway, and you can't be mad at Rennick. Even though I should be. But Corey was evil. And I felt like I was in love with him because I hadn't been with someone in a long time. He's the first guy around and stuff. This man calls me Skeletor to this day. And would make fun of me and talk shit about me behind my back. Was there 19 months for free. Didn't pay anything. And the power had been turned off and everything, and they weren't helping me do anything.
And you had no income coming in.
Yeah, well, supposedly. And they're all shooting heroin in the house. And he's telling me what to do, and they're yelling at me for the way I tweak on drugs, because they didn't like it because they're doing heroin too. Now it's not hidden from me anymore. Now it's right in my face and all over her house, in front of her, and she's got dementia, and if she was in there at all, it had to be killing her what was happening. But this guy, he got some neighbors had called the cops and found a loophole to try to get us out. And this cute little summer cabin that everyone took pictures for the paper and stuff of, the very last day looked like a murder happened there with crime scene tape all around the property. And but we were given by the city 1 day to get the power on and do a couple other things, and then maybe by the next day they wouldn't condemn it. They already had plans to condemn it. They just wanted to see what we do. But I finally had power for 1 night. His mom paid for it. His mom, it turns out Corey had a $250 a day habit, and Mom was sending him money every fucking day. He took my brand new car and lost it, left it somewhere. And I didn't force him to tell me where it was because I kept believing him and thinking this guy and whatever had this weird mental ridiculousness in my head because I was that nuts myself because of being with Mom that long. And they spent over $600 to get the electricity back on. I don't know what he told that woman about me. And even though he owes me all this money and didn't pay for anything and ruined my house and destroyed it, and I found out we were the second hottest house in Tahoe and we're about to get hit by the police. I had no idea that all this shit was going on in the back room of my house. None of it. Major drug dealing, a lot of it. The theft stuff. It's scary to know what almost happened.
So it became kind of a trap house,
to where there were all these fucking cars in the driveway, and the neighbors were freaking out by the sight of it and stuff. They put a trailer in the yard. It was just unbelievable. And he is sitting there and telling me now, until I sent a picture of Ellis out. He can be a dick, but he's useful. And he's awesome. And he is still threatening me that I better fucking pay his mother or he's coming after me. What did you tell your mother? $250 a day habit, plus he liked to gamble. And I didn't know that either. Found out that the night he left my car behind, that he left the car and then went into a casino and won $700 that night and could have gone back and got my car. And didn't. It was the first time I'd ever spent a major chunk of money. It was an inheritance I got that obviously will never happen again. And it was $5,000 I put down. I've never put more than a few hundred. And got it off a lot and signed papers, and it was the first time I did that. And it was a good, really good car. And it was a Super Outback that I always wanted. And just gone. I was finally told where it was the day before it was put up for auction, and I couldn't get it at all. And he was going to get it from auction for me, and then said, "Oh, I never said that I'd do that." And then got himself a car.
Doesn't
These
sound like
people
very good people in this, yeah.
No.
So eventually the house was lost.
So it was condemned.
Condemned, and your mom.
And I was thrown in the street at November 28th in the middle of winter in Tahoe with that little dog.
What year was this?
This was 2019.
2019. So this is the first time you became unhoused?
Yeah, my mom had died like the year before.
Okay, so you had the house a little bit.
Yeah, and so I had the house a little bit, and we lasted almost a year in it after she died. And
then you're on the street.
He tried to go around telling people I killed my mom and all this stuff and whatever. And so I'm out in the street. They get a motel room and refuse to let me near the door, even though I let them bring this people. And they were moving people in and out of the house without asking me. And then they were coming and staying. And it was a trap. It was a squatters thing. And all of them were telling me to fuck off in my own house.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare. I mean, I've got people here that are constantly, you got someone coming in the door, are constantly telling me that, hey.
We'll pause.
Yeah,
Intermission.
Okay. Intermission.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Not bad. Should I come out some other time?
How much?
For Sarah.
Not in here, but give us.
Sarah is.
I just have her key. I was supposed to give her a key for this building.
Yeah, I don't know. She's not in here. Maybe next door.
You're trying next door over at Commons?
I'll come back. I had to do a little touch up in that room, but you're busy right now.
Maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Cool.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so you're on the street.
Yeah. I had my friends Nick and Jerry, they were the main plugs in Tahoe, and when they found out that I had quit and stuff, they put the word out to everyone, anyone gives her any drugs or anything, we're gonna ban you people and stuff. And then Nick finally quit, and so they were letting me come around and stay. And this is the mother of the girl that I originally let in, okay, the one who was my friend. And they and the guy who bought, now this is a 400, and I got this guy to buy the house. We had done things to make the paperwork good,
okay, so
and stuff.
You actually
to
sold
where,
the house.
Yeah, and to where Mom's will.
So it became condemned, but you could still sell it.
Yeah, we're still selling. We were in the middle of trying to sell it, and the guy who bought the house, he paid for a motel room for me for the first few nights, and but then I was really in the street. And in Tahoe, they don't like you in California if you're homeless. And in Tahoe, it is a rich town. If you do not have money, you're out in Tahoe and you're considered nothing. And it's just a tourist town or rich town. And everyone talks about how beautiful it is. I don't see the beauty of Tahoe. I see the mud with the snow, and I see the behind the scenes of it. And it was a $400,000 lot. It was quarter-acre land, this little tiny summer cabin, cute thing in the middle of it. And it was, I probably should have got about maybe almost $700,000. I got 19.
19,000?
And if we hadn't done what we did to make the paperwork a certain way, I wouldn't have gotten that.
Oh, wow.
But he sold, and I had everything. I was in that house for 31 years. And the neighbors that saw me go in that house as a 13-year-old girl clapped as the police escorted me off the property. It was a nightmare. It was horrible. And it was so bad. What I allowed these people to do, because I didn't have any backup and I didn't have the ability. I tried to tell them all no. I tried to tell them get out, and they just plotted against me and wouldn't go. And I had no physical ability to throw anyone out. I had no one else to come around and back me up. Everyone left me alone that were friends of mine, including Nick and Jerry. When Mom got sick, no one wanted to have to deal with it, and left me alone with all of it, to go through that, to make the bad decisions of them.
Yeah, you had no one to fall back on.
Yeah.
No support system.
I had no Ellis or Commons or anyone that I could call and go, get over here and get this out of my house, or please help me stay at the house. Nobody. And I was alone with her for several years. And so I've got all these people around for the first time, and I've got freedom now and don't know how to handle it. And I'd never had that when I was younger. So it's like I'm like a child, and I'm in my late 40s, and I'm trying to do this, and I don't know what I'm doing at all. And so I was there's a shelter called the Warm Room in Tahoe, and at the old dentist's office, and only like 25 people can fit in. And I became a regular in there, and you can't spend all day long in there. So you have to be out at 5 a.m. in the snow and walk around Tahoe, which anyone sees you walking around, you get pulled over, and hopefully Nick and Jerry will let me be on the couch for a night or for an afternoon. But walking around with that tiny little dog who got frozen in the snow, as a bag lady who was there, went to high school there, went to everything there.
That's where you grew up, right?
And now I'm this. And on Valentine's Day, there was a freak snowstorm, and that kept the mountain blocked. And this guy who was moving out of town, I mean, Jason had lived there for 10 years, and I never knew him. He even took his daughter to the school right down the street from my house, and I never knew him. And he was leaving to move back to Chico's hometown, and he couldn't get off the mountain because of the storm. And a friend told him, you can go to the shelter for the night. He's got this big, huge dog, Max, and it's the dog I showed pictures of, that big one. And I thought it was this other dog, this pit bull that was crazy there, Taz. I'm like, dude, get Taz, I got Vigo on, get him out of there. Because I'm just seeing this light outside when we're all going out to smoke. He's like, no, this isn't Taz, this is Max, this big dopey idiot. And it was Valentine's Day. And that's how I met Jason. That's how I got out of Tahoe. I went to Chico with him, and he and I are both Scorpio. He is November 5th, and I'm the 4th, and he's 3 years and 1 day younger than me. And Scorpio men are a lot different than Scorpio women. Scorpio women are all about Scorpio's about passion. Scorpio women are about full passion. Scorpio men are homicidal maniacs and rapists and passion. And it's a fact, a lot of them are. I mean, Charles Manson is Scorpio, you know. And not all of them are, okay, I'm not going to say all are, but it's a trait more in the male than anything with the female. It's a very different Scorpio. And he was very new to drugs and very green with it and thought he knew everything. And the second he got high, I fucked every black guy on the block. And all this snuck up on me. I didn't realize this guy was nuts. So I go to Chico with him, get out of Tahoe. And we're there a couple months. He starts accusing me of the most bizarre shit that will not be told on tape. And Collins knows the stories because they had to put up with him. And they had to ban him and had to protect me over here. And we went to, it was 100 degrees in Chico at midnight on August 15th when we left there. And we were going to go to Eureka or Santa Cruz and check it out for a few days. And I wake up in the car ride, and we're in Portland, Oregon. And he's saying, new plan, we're not going back, and don't worry, I'll take care of you. We won't be in the car long, we won't be homeless long, you never have to lift a finger. Yeah, a dream, okay. That was a dream. That never happened. It was a nightmare. And it got worse here and really bad with all the accusations. And I couldn't speak to anyone. It got to where I couldn't even look up. I'm still having problems doing it a bit. I'm finally kind of used to it. But I've always been able to talk to anyone. But I couldn't. It meant I had sex with them. I couldn't even look up at a person and look at their face because it meant I had sex with them and I was blinking at them.
Yeah, he was so possessive and
he was just, and it turns out there was problems with his, we don't know the actual truth of what happened the night of his birth, and there's something wrong with it, and something happened to him in the womb, and he's just fucktarded, man.
But it caused you a lot of trauma.
Oh, a lot of trauma.
Major trauma.
And a lot of girls over here trauma, because the way he came at me is one time, and one reason he got banned, walked in there hard after me, and those people go in there for, to be okay and safety. And he took that away a couple times, or tried to. And he didn't understand it, and it was all me, and I was this whore, and okay, whatever. And he kept taking off on me and just would be gone. And I was being threatened by this guy who was a pimp around and tried to gorilla pimp me, or what the term was I found. And so there was a group of people over at, I was living in Woodland Park. There was a group of people in Woodland Park, and Ellis was one of them. And he was like my next door neighbor. We were best friends the second we met. We were buddies immediately. And it was like his little job from the rest of them, watch out for this girl. And so I went everywhere with him, and I was so in a fog and so depressed and upset and scared about Jason, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm out here in a tent now. We lost the car because Jason went to jail for hurting me, and he lost his dog because of that. You could not have gotten, you Vigo, you couldn't have gotten that kid out of my cold dead hands. But the big one's too big, and he needed to be somewhere else safe. And Jason, so they took care of me and took me into their group. And I went everywhere with Ellis. I mean, everyone's like, oh, you're obviously messing with him, you're screwing him or whatever, and you just lost puppy dog after him. No, he was terrified to leave me alone. He thought I was going to hurt myself. So he would say, come this way, walk this way with me, even though it looked like I was following him around, and I kind of was. I was just like in a fog. And if I'd start to cry, there was a bubble shoved in my mouth to shut me up because he couldn't handle crying. And which was fine. And I didn't care either way though. Nothing was real. And his girlfriend and him had been together 5 years, and they hated each other. She did nothing but heroin, and he did nothing but meth, and he couldn't handle a zombie being around all the time. And she's a lot younger than him, and nothing really feminine about her either. He got with her in the first place under different circumstances, and they hadn't had sex in a very long time, and he had started to flirt a little, but he's black, and I never, nothing racist. I was never going to go there. And then we went to, but everyone thought something was going on because he cheated on her a lot. And so, here's just another one, they figured. I'm like, no. And when they finally did break up, and she told me they broke up, one day I'm like, you know what the hell? And we met at Northgate Transit Center, and I was supposed to meet him over there. I had just left here, and I had a brand new dress on from Commons. And he grabbed me and he kissed me right there. And that was it for me. It clicked for me, I got it. And that was September 13th. It's gonna be 4 years of September, so whatever. Years are still foggy. And Jason had been gone, had taken off and stuff. Jason had hurt me really bad and had grabbed, swore that I was smoking meth. He could smell it with the neighbor next door in the tent in Ballard, and I had started hitting him. I've never hit him in my life. And the police even told me that me hitting him first was self-defense because of the way he was. And I was half awake. I'm like, whatever. And I slapped at him, and I slipped, and I hit him down there, barely. And he grabbed my left breast and let go, and then grabbed me down there and wouldn't let go and was yanking. And I'm screaming, and I said, fuck it, it's over, Jen. And I hit him in the face, and then he punched me in the mouth really hard and goes, that wasn't even full force, bitch. And then starts calling me an undercover drug cop, and I'm all, fine, you just assaulted an officer then. And he freaked out and ran. And there were some guys in a car at 4 o'clock in the morning at Ballard Canal Street and everything. And I'm like, look, boys, get him, there he goes. Making him believe, and he totally believed it then. And I called Ellis, my best friend. And he couldn't get to me. He couldn't get a car, and he couldn't get to me. And the panic in his voice was like, get to the ER. They said it was the worst bruising they'd ever seen without a rape over at Swedish. And I couldn't move, I could only scream, I couldn't pee, nothing. And Ellis and his girl were in the tent next to me, and that's all he could hear for like a week. So we went together with the Northgate, and I'm still in pain. And when we kissed, that was going to be our thing. It was no matter how many times we went to Northgate or whatever, if it was 5-minute wait or 5-hour wait or whatever stuff, we would sit at that bench and kiss. And right after it happens, they shut down the main part of the transit center, and they opened up big with light rail, so it wasn't there anymore, so we couldn't have that.
You'd reclaim some other place.
But the ex-girlfriend, he thought she was always going to get back with them, right? Because that's what they did back and forth for 5 years. This time it was really over. And she took my entire camp when she found out, within 3 minutes of finding out, and walked over to her. I watched her walk over to everything and take her torch, and she lit everything I'd had. I'd lost everything in Tahoe because the guy who bought the house, he went on vacation when they started working on the house, and he said, just leave all your stuff here. You can come back and get whenever you want. Because he knew I'd nowhere to go and nowhere to take it. Things that I'd had for 31 years.
Right.
And his crew, his new crew, took everything and threw it out, even though he told them not to. Everything. A king-size bed, a queen-size bed, 4 huge TVs, every picture I had ever drawn, everything I'd ever written, which I had written a book and it was there. Every yearbook of my mother's and me, every picture of everyone in the family. I had a piece of hair and a collar from every animal, all of it. There was 2 $500 bullwhips on the wall that I just like to look at that stuff on the wall, and about $2,000 worth of sex toys, and which all my clothes, all dishes, everything gone.
Yeah.
And that was, I lost
Everything.
So I'd gone through that, and I'm finally acquiring things. Thank God I had taken Mom with me, her cremation, with me. And now it's been burned to the ground in this tent. I was supposed to put her in the ocean, and she's stuck in Woodland Park. And the guys the next morning from the park didn't know that, and I knew what color her ashes were and where she was. And I see it, and these guys walk right in front of me with a rake. And it was just like, he put me, I had to go into a tent at the other end side of the lake because she was threatening to stick me with stuff. And I'm like, you know what, he didn't cheat on you with me. I would never have done that to her. But I'm an adult, I don't really know these people. And it was over. She had said it was over. And maybe it was a little too soon, but you know what, I'm an adult and get over it, people. And just he being on the other side of the lake, though, hiding, which was horrible. I called the housing guy that went through Ballard, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. And he's all, there's only shelters, Jen. And then goes, let me see what I can do. And calls back in 10 minutes and says, I got the only place in the city left for 2 months. And her burning me at the ground got me housing under a loophole of their domestic violence. And then I got into the place in West Seattle. And that was 4 years ago. She's still in a tent.
And are you still
I'm housed in, he and I have lived in place. And
a couple different things that I want to talk about real quick was about your mom's ashes, because I've also run into folks who have been swept, who, there's this piece of, I think there's a perspective of, because someone's homeless, that they just have a bunch of trash, they don't have whatever, they're just living, but it's like people have these family heirlooms, they have their loved one's ashes, they have these really valuable possessions, and they get lost, they get, someone burns a tent down, they're gone, people get swept, thrown away. Like you said, there's guys that just...
Yeah. I was never swept like in when they go through a place and when they finally cleaned out Woodland Park.
Right.
I, thank God, had never had to be involved in one of those things.
But it's like but what I'm saying is, like, you still carried these tremendously
it's your
valuable...
stuff. It's your stuff.
And the second thing is, I've also heard, because something, whether it's kind of a tragic scenario of a tent burning down, or I had to go to the hospital, the emergency rooms, then I got housing. Like, it takes this like crisis, and I don't know what the rules are or whatever, but it's like, on one hand, I'm glad you got housing, but it's like, why did it have to take such...
Yeah, well,
kind of
for me, like, I was lost. I thought that I couldn't do anything without Jason. I couldn't do anything without someone. I couldn't do any of this by myself.
Yes.
Yeah, and I couldn't do any of it. And Ellis is Army Sergeant and 4 tours in Iraq. And I tell people he's 4 tours in Iraq and a dick to prove it. And he has gone through some harsh things. And he's an asshole. He's not an angel. And a lot of people, how could you stay with him? Well, I know certain things that happened to him in Iraq that are insane, and he gets graded on a curve a lot of times with that stuff. It's like, you try and do that. Yeah. You try and be, and be a black man and go through this stuff, and it's a lot of people around here will. I do love saying I'm his woman around any part. I'll go, oh, you know Ellis? I'm his woman. It's, oh, okay. Immediately.
Respect.
It is fear. It is fear.
Or that.
It is fear, respect. I don't give a shit what. It's an awesome feeling. And a lot of people start stories about him and have to tell me things that are true or aren't true or partially true. And he's a liar. And he's not a liar. He's a good guy who's been through a lot of crap and some drugs himself, and is my best friend, is a total nightmare, and the love of my life.
Great.
And there was a lot of time I will spend complaining about things with him, but that's everyone is like, he's an Aquarius, he's not perfect. He thinks he's the best thing ever being an Aquarius. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not Scorpio. And he's 55. I'm 49. We're in the perfect age range. He was so happy that he'd be talking about something in the movie and saying a line, and I'd say what movie it was from, and his ex-girlfriend had no idea because she just turned 30. That much younger.
Well, I mean, you sound happy.
Yeah.
Great.
And
at times
happy.
Yeah.
It's if I get really mad at him, I remember anything that happened with Jason. And it's like, you know what? It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. And the way I feel about Ellis, I've never felt like this before. And I will never feel like it again. Is it going to last? I don't know. But no one thought it would last more than a couple of days.
Yeah.
And including us. And so it's like this mission now to prove everyone in the park wrong in my head. And Mom would never have approved. She was racist but hid it. And her mother was very racist. And but she'd be turning over in her grave.
Well, one last question before we end that I like to ask is there anything that you would want the people of Seattle to know?
Like, what do you mean? Like how?
I think that there's a lot of people who are housed that see people who are at the Commons, on Aurora, and living in tents, living in a shelter, and they look at them a certain way.
Well, okay. Well, a lot of for people who are still in tents or whatever, Elsa and I are like, how is that possible? Because they've gone through and tried to give housing to everyone, and they have to a lot of people in the park. And it was just, when someone's coming up to you and saying, oh, look, can I help you, give you this flyer, whatever, hold on to the flyer. Hold on to the number. Talk to them like a person. Don't go, oh God, you're hiding from drugs. Don't worry about telling them that you're a drug addict or anything like that. Make sure you tell your doctor everything that you're about being a drug addict. Don't tell police. Tell these people that are housing you as much as you can about it. There's some things we know what to hide. It doesn't mean drug. But everybody that handles me personally knows every single thing about me. And it's partly because I talk a lot and partly because I find that important. Because then they can help you. They can actually help you. And don't just go, oh, I can't get the housing, do this. Put the needle down. Get yourself inside. You can do the needle inside. Just get yourself inside long enough. And one thing that happened at the store in Tahoe. I was trying to explain to them something, the managers and stuff, something. They knew me from before and they didn't know I was homeless, and I'm trying to explain to them what's like how you're viewing all of us the same, and they had no idea I was one of them, and I was making the woman cry. It's just, do not go, there's people on the bus that I've seen recently, oh yeah, don't worry about this place down there, that part's where all the junkies are and this and that. I'm like, I feel safer around the junkies than I do around some of the normal people that go to give you a hand, because if you look in history, serial killers and all that kind of stuff are usually not one of them. They're too busy trying to get their fix to not really. Yeah, there have been things that have happened, but I don't feel scared anywhere in the city. Ellis wishes I would, because I get a little too lax with it. But for someone who was terrified to even be out of gas with the car with Jason, oh my God, what's going to happen to us? I walk around this place in the middle of the night by myself. And very stupidly, pretty much. Just been lucky, I guess. But it's, most people look at me and don't think that I'm homeless. I'm not now, but I still consider myself homeless because I'm in programs with it, or I'm a DESC now, or it was in the trailers, and because a lot of people I know are still homeless, or I come to Commons. I feel safe at Commons. Commons is great, and everyone should go there. Women's Night is tomorrow night.
Tell me more about the Commons.
They saved us. They saved me and Vigo. I don't give a fuck about Jason. They tried to save him, and he was just ridiculous. Without them, I mean, and because of Vigo, a lot of it, because they named him the Instagram pet face, we wouldn't be as far as we are. But what they all remind me of is we wouldn't be as far as we are if it weren't for me, if I hadn't stopped the fog. Ellis lifted the fog. No one could have lifted that fog. It wasn't going to happen. I was just going to die out there because of it. And Ellis did. He was the only person or only thing at all that could, and he didn't mean to. He'd come and kidnap me in the middle of the night from my tent, be real quiet, getting away from her, and we'd walk around the park in the middle of the night and talk. Everyone thought we were off having an affair. He'd talk about her and I'd talk about Jason, and that was it. Nothing happened. And he's like, you and I know. And I'm like, yeah, but they all think that because you were a certain way. Oh, I was not. I'm like, yeah, you were. You had to have been. Yeah, you were. You know you were. But, and so because he was a certain way, that means obviously he's done all that stuff to me, which he has a little, but not what everyone's tried to break us up. It's not going to happen. No. No, it's not going to happen. It's going to be different reasons, and not people and their bullshit and their talk, which is everywhere throughout. I mean, this place does kind of suck with the talk and I've never seen anything like it ever, and I've been around gossip, but it's Commons though. They really are there and give a shit. I mean. They put money out. They'll help you with clothing, with housing, with food, with shower as much as you can, with doing your laundry, with feeding for the day. The way I was first told about the place, I thought that the women that were in there actually came from the church and were nuns. When I told them all that the first time, they were laughing their ass off. They're like, yeah, we're nuns here. I'm like, no. I'm like, it was more like the thing of they were saint-like or whatever, but this person who first told us about Commons, I thought they were nuns working there. Yeah. And they took us in, they love us. They love me and Vigo. I mean, they were all devastated when it happened with Vigo. And I still feel his fur in my hand. And they truly do give a fuck. I mean, people go, oh, well, it's just they're supposed to. And Jason thought they were horrible there because they threw him out. Because they protected me. And because they knew he was nuts. And there was no helping him. And you can't get help unless you ask for it. Although we'll come to you around through the park or through other places and stuff, the love van and all that. I haven't seen that in a while, but you actually have to
participate.
You will get housing and get a place if you put the shit down for a minute. And just it takes a minute to listen to what they're saying and to go and fill the stuff out. A majority of people around here got housing and stuff, got places. I got it earlier than the others because she burned me to the ground. Yeah. And it was the greatest day over here at Commons. They were so proud of me that day that I had done that for myself, and not too many of them do. Yeah. And that was one thing that Ellis thought was amazing about me. Of all the people he knows and taking people's sides over me and stuff, whatever, and he got to throw that in her face. He goes, look what she's done. And she's done for herself, and you're still in the tent, and he throws that at her. Because we still know her. Yeah. Unfortunately, she's still insanely important. She knows my bitterness of that. But that's okay, because I know he's with me. Yeah. And I get and say to Mom, holy cow, look, I'm okay. And I don't know if she'd be okay with that or not. She would say that, but she spent so much time trying to keep me down. Well, it's good to hear your voice. Good to hear your story. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate Sorry I rambled. No, I do that. Perfect timing.